All right. So the National Guard has been mobilized in LA, but there's a little something going on here, and Trump is not deploying them yet. And they have got the Marines ready over from Camp Pendleton, ready to deploy them, but they're not doing it, and I think I know why.
Yet, the Trump administration is targeting those that they call illegals, a phrase that we do not use here on MSNBC. Right.
Because you're virtue signaling white women, and if you fall for this, you're an actual idiot. Peaceful. Don't forget, this is peaceful. Wow. Look at this idiot. Retard. Look at this fucking guy. Just for doing their jobs, this is how they get treated.
This is about enforcing the law. And again, we're not going to apologize for doing it. We're stepping up. She said they're going to mobilize. Well, guess what? We're already ahead of the game. We're already mobilizing. We're going to bring National Guard in tonight.
Now, I have a feeling, because Gavin Newsom has already spoke out, and he is blaming all this on Trump. He's blaming all these people rioting that they're not stopping. And the reason that they have a police presence there, but Gavin Newsom is telling the police don't mess with anybody because they are already, the police are so low in numbers, they cannot meet their recruitments from the last couple of years. So they're already stretched thin. And I think what Trump is doing is he's going to wait for Gavin Newsom to beg him for help because this is getting crazy. I've waited all day to see if they were going to deploy the National Guard, and they haven't yet. And this is from earlier today, and now I got some stuff from right now, so we'll get into this. And they still haven't deployed them. They're either going to wait till night, or they're going to wait for Gavin Newsom. They're going to wait for Gavin Newsom to publicly ask for the National Guard to come in and actually help, because this shit is getting way out of control. Those are little tear gas pellets. It's like paint gun pellets with tear gas in them. It's smoke grenades.
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Retard out.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
So cool, bro. You got your 5 seconds of fame right there.
Oh my gosh.
Who is down there?
Oh my gosh.
What are you seeing and hearing? It's looking like things are getting chaotic.
Large crowd of law enforcement come out.
We have, oh my God, we have tear gas, we have fireworks going off, tear gas is in the air, people are dispersing. I can't see anything. I'm sorry, I can't see anything.
I can't see anything. Oh.
Back up if you can. We want you to be safe first and foremost. So, Lauren, please.
Peaceful. This is peaceful, guys. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to show you the libtard media claiming that this is all peaceful. This is from last night, not today. This has been going on for 3 days now. And you have your liberal white woman in the background screaming and being stunning and brave as usual.
That scoop right here. Look.
Oh, you're gonna love this. Look at that. Now check this out. Look at the store owners. Look at the workers right there. Now they're forced to sit there and do nothing because in California, if you defend your property, if you defend your store, and this guy, let's say they beat his ass, right, for stealing. Now he can sue them and he can take their business because that's how it goes in California. You cannot defend your personal property. You cannot defend your private property. In California, you're forced to cuck yourself like these guys, cucking themselves like this.
That's so sad. What is this?
It's sad.
Look at this. Oh my God.
Take it all, bro. Take it all.
I can't. You want
Summer of Love 2.0.
Demonstrations have been going on right outside
Demonstrations,
the federal
guys. These are just demonstrations, guys. This is Summer of Love 2.0.
Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were
You just saw it. Very peaceful.
Driving by, honking their horns, and again they were expressing their anger about the detention of so many immigrants at the federal center. Most of the evening, the federal agents stayed inside the building, but at a
they're not coming out to help.
Some of the demonstrators
they're gonna let you fuck your whole city up.
In fact, some of them went onto the property, started tagging the building, started banging on fences, and shortly after all that happened, the agents started firing off tear gas, and then they came.
And I remember 1992 very well. That one of the worst things you can do is have an extreme presence of law enforcement that gets everybody agitated and the violence actually escalates.
We agree that if you're being violent, you.
Here we go with this chick right here. It is actually amazing because they know that CNN is not going to show the clips from people that are the independent media, because the stuff that I just showed you, they can't show because then it ruins their narrative.
Arrested, you should be prosecuted. There is no disagreement on that. I think that's a effort that we can all say. But this is not what's happening. We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes.
They haven't sent the National Guard. They've only mobilized them. They're not going to send them. I'm telling you, they're going to wait for Gavin Newsom to beg for their help. They would have already done it. They would have already done it. This has gotten way out of control. And they're not going to do it because Gavin Newsom has already taken a stand that this is all Trump's fault and that they need to just let them, I guess, get this out of their system or something. I don't know. Just keep destroying the city.
Of people peacefully protesting. And we know that California law enforcement, local law enforcement, they're there to protect the public. They're there to protect public safety. And that's what they're there to do. Now, when people turn on law enforcement is when you get that response. So we want to make sure that people continue to speak up, that people show up.
They've been turning on them. What are you talking about? They've been attacking them all weekend. This is the retard news network. If you fall for this, I feel sorry for you at this point. I show these clips in every video of how they try to gaslight you. You literally have to be retarded to believe what these people are saying. And and they fall for it. People fall for this still. It must not be people that live in California. They must live in the Midwest and they're just they're libtards and they don't
that
know
people
how this
are
goes.
Peaceful about the situation.
Peaceful.
And
they're just peaceful.
That's what we're continuing to tell people.
Committed crimes permit First Amendment protest, which is allowed.
Reality is,
that's allowed.
We see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. And again, any violence against police officers should not be accepted. Local authorities can handle that. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated.
Why does this guy always look like he's cracked out? Look at this fool. Cracked out every time.
Because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and
Trump's
confusion
fault
by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearings.
So they're illegal. But it's Trump's fault for doing what the country voted for. Trump literally ran on this. He said, we're going to do the largest deportation ever in U.S. history. We voted for this. Idiot.
Trying to abide by the law. He's arresting them. And you see this in communities that are Republican, Trump supporters, being outraged that he's raiding kitchens and arresting people, high schools, and arresting people who are not what he said he would do, which is focus law enforcement resources on violent criminals and people that are a danger to other Americans.
You know what's funny about that? Tom Homan told you retards. He said, You work with us, we'll get the criminals out, right? They refused. They refused to work with Tom Homan. And guess what happens when you do that? You get collateral damage. Whoever, wherever, any tip they call in, they're going to go look for it. You refused to work with them and make this easy. So now they have to do it the hard way. And they are not backing down, man. If you see them out there, they're looking hella comfortable. They're not stressed at all. They have enough people out there, and the cops are out there doing nothing, just like walking around in circles. They're not even wearing, and they're telling them not to put their riot gear on because it's full-blown riots right now. And they're telling them not to put their riot gear on. Okay, so we have at least one Karen.
An injury there, and
at least one Karen got injured.
We're showing you this was shot a little bit earlier today.
Karen, get up, Karen.
That woman, it appears to be a woman covering her face, leaning up against a tree. She's bleeding slightly.
You're so stunning and brave, though.
That mask, and so this has just been unfolding now for a few hours in the community of Paramount.
Damn,
and
Karen.
Not only does it seem
you
far
girl
from
boss
over,
too close to the sun,
but those federal agents, Border Patrol, they are on the ground there, and they are wearing gas masks. And I don't know if they're planning on leaving.
Help Karen out, dude. The white woman was trying
continuing
to
this
she
operation.
was trying to virtue signal for
this
you guys.
immigration raid. That's what we were being told was the purpose.
Poor Karen.
That they were in Paramount for that
That's
today.
A shame, man.
But judging by their posture,
she virtue signaled too close to the sun.
That these federal agents, Border Patrol, were in any rush to get out of there. We're showing you.
Hal, as always, it's good to have you on. We appreciate you coming on for this developing story. This is something that we've been watching.
Okay, here we got some good stuff, man.
3 days.
These are self-driving cars, and they must have been driving around the street, and they must have circled the self-driving car because they know it's going to stop, and then they just started beating the shit out of it and lighting them on fire.
I was on the air for 6 hours straight yesterday.
The electric battery in these cars, once it explodes, it's a literal bomb. But these people are too retarded to know that.
All the protests surrounding George Floyd death, and that was really big all over Southern California. So I would say that what I'm looking at here is, and they made some mistakes. My understanding is that they've been taking corrective action.
This is peaceful, guys.
And these
peaceful.
What appear to be driverless cars set fire.
Stupid robots.
And one thing about driverless cars is I don't think this was ever a programming parameter, but they don't know to get away from a protest, a violent protest or something. So they probably were like the only cars out there that drove right into where things were happening. And I'm sure for many of the protesters, the dots, but they may be kind of indirectly protesting against President Trump by indirectly protesting against.
This is right now. This is Sunday night. This is Sunday night. So this is within the last hour.
In his electric car, Tesla.
The sun's about
to
set.
But again, a lot of times protesters don't think this through. They just lash out.
Yeah.
Al, the vehicle's burning on the screen.
Let's get
the freeway that was taken over earlier today. You and I were texting a little bit earlier today, and you said
sure it could be LA County Sheriff's overall, but they basically got streets of Los Angeles. Although my understanding is they're still saying nobody could drive down the 101 freeway. And as you know, from downtown LA, we've got 2 or 3 freeways that are major freeways, actually 4 major freeways that all intersect in a very close area, all within easy walking distance of where these protesters are. So they're very concerned that the protesters not blocking off these major arteries in Southern California.
So Hal, let's listen into the natural sound out here. We've been seeing, I saw at least one blast that came from this vehicle. Gosh, I can only think of fire being released into the air.
And we got another one over here.
Side story compared to the raw sounds. Looks like we've got 2 car fires now. Let's listen into this. Let's talk on the.
So they're away from ICE at this point. They're just, now it's just turned into full-blown chaos. So you seen earlier, all over. It's just chaos. And Gavin Newsom is just sitting in his nice mansion. telling the cops just leave them alone. It's not going to stop.
Al, can you put into words how dangerous scenes like this are?
It's pretty dangerous.
Not to mention the obvious fact that there's a burning vehicle in front of everybody here, but police have not been shy about saying that less than lethal rounds may be used.
They're not going to use them. I'm telling you right now, the cops they're worn so thin. They're not going to even all they're going to do is basically surround the area like a perimeter, and they're just going to let them do what they want. They're going to just walk back and forth, and as long as they don't attack the police, nothing's going to happen.
Have declared this an unlawful assembly, so there's an element of risk being taken by the folks that are participating in these.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is
I would say some
of them have clearly crossed the line. It's no longer a quote.
You get some good scenes. Yeah.
2,000 California
look at that. Look at all those nice flags. Oh, there's an American flag with a Mexican flag in it.
And a Title 10 status to support the protection of federal personnel and federal property in the greater LA
we got
area.
One,
this was a question that we had
American
yesterday, and it's only become a bigger talker as the day has progressed today, Hal. Have you heard of this idea before of National Guard soldiers? These are California National Guard soldiers, in this case, being placed under federal command and control. Yeah. Is this something you've heard of before?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is what I used to do. When I was in uniform, I used to work with civil military support operations or defense support of civil authorities. And that is a status you can put. One of the things you do, though,
is
you put National Guard troops, which have a kind of a dual role. They're the state militia, if you will. They are the governor's military force that the governor can use for a variety of things in the state. And then they're also a reserve component of the U.S. Army or U.S. Air Force, depending on which branch they're associated with. The forces there are U.S. Army. They've been mobilized. I believe my recollection is they are from a unit that's headquartered in Los Angeles. Interestingly, many of the members of that unit may very well be law enforcement officers like LAPD, LA County Sheriff's deputies, could be.
They're going to want to help these guys out.
Who prior to this were prohibited from doing certain things in support of enforcing immigration law, federal immigration law.
Yeah, they were.
And now they're in uniform. They're
in California. They were all told you guys can't enforce or help enforce any type of immigration law, and if they ask you to. Then you'd be subject to termination or discipline. So this is just
status. So now they are supporting ICE in enforcing.
Yeah, they want to help them.
So that is a little bit ironic that would fall to a number of them. Not I wouldn't say all of them, but a number of them would fall into that status because that's what they do in their civilian jobs. Now, they have been brought into federal status, what's called Title 10 authority. That means they're federal troops like any other federal troops in the country. And with that, they have to abide by a law called Posse Comitatus. That's the Posse Comitatus law of 1878 says that federal troops cannot be used for law enforcement. Basically, it's a very short, I think it's like two sentences in a paragraph. It's a very short law, but it was something that was done to stop federal troops from enforcing Reconstruction and post-Civil War stuff. The southern states kind of pushed for it, and so they got that law, and that's been the law of the land. One of the things is unless the president declares the Insurrection Act, which has been a very active discussion in what we're seeing.
Looks like an insurrection, doesn't it?
We've seen played out in the last 3 days. If he declares the Insurrection Act, then he could send those troops in to basically quell the protests, if you will, directly. In other words, they could
He's not going to
do things on the streets, and that implies that the state and local law enforcement authorities, public safety authorities
for help
have lost control of the situation.
This isn't going to stop.
This came up in Hurricane Katrina.
I don't understand.
that the whole
Why
ship's
these
on
guys
fire.
don't get it?
And
Like,
they're not sure if they're going to be. It looked like they're not going to be able to save the
look,
ship.
look
They
at all the
evacuated the
car.
crew.
I told you.
So it gives you an
gonna
idea of the
start lighting them
potential of
all up.
lithium-ion batteries with fire. I don't know that the protesters really thought that through, but they happen to pick vehicles that burn extremely hot. And the other thing
the batteries
is
explode.
they're going to burn for a long time. Again, I don't think the protesters thought that through.
Yeah.
But I do believe that that's what's happening. By the way, one of the things that I'd like to point out, welcome to 2025. And we said this back in 2020 with the protests there too. We have a lot of images. Law enforcement, public safety has a lot of images. And all of those individuals out there that are doing acts of property damage or violence are being killed. And there's a lot of different ways they can put together.
In my last video, I said they have some of the most advanced like facial recognition software in LA. These people are retarded. They're definitely going to jail. Because, I mean, they're not playing around this time. And they know they'll just wait it out. They don't need to arrest them right now. They can just come and arrest them,
Right now, doing things, you go, why don't they go in and arrest them right now? Well, if you remember the 2020 protests, there was a lot of looting going on. They were hitting stores and stuff and taking everything. And everybody said, why are they standing by and letting this happen? And it was basically picking time and place.
Mm-hmm.
They had ways to identify who they were.
Dude,
and in the days and weeks afterwards,
they all got arrested.
Law enforcement came to their homes and knocked on the door and basically took possession of what they stole and put them and took them into custody. And so there are a lot of ways they can do this.
But they let them go, though.
Again, I would say if anyone in Southern California thinks that they want to join these violent protests, you may go down there, you may get away from it, but you also may get a knock on your door, and they may have a search warrant, depending on what they think they saw you do. So that's modern policing. That's kind of how it works.
Al, why are we seeing horseback officers? What can they do that other officers can't?
They're great for crowd control. They've been used for crowd control forever. They've been used in Southern California with LAPD for crowd control and LA sheriffs with crowd control in these crowd situations because they just work so parking lot and it kind of set things in motion. And where you saw the protests initially,
is this at the
in Southern California, could potentially see federal troops there protecting that property.
So now they're blocking.
That is within the scope of what they could potentially
do. Are blocking
if they think it's necessary. But I would point out, when you're talking about 2,000 National Guard troops, I know that sounds like a lot. 500 Marines coming in.
These people are all sitting down and blocking.
But you know, as well as I do,
feel like leaving,
just how
they
big
will literally
Los Angeles County
plow
is.
through these people.
Just how big Los
Angeles is.
Angeles
They're not doing
is.
anything.
And you could easily see where those troops could be dispersed.
Oh, man.
And you'd still need a lot more troops to provide really an ample security force.
All right, that's enough, dude.
I should also point out,
I
though,
gotta
in the background,
I'm trying to keep it under 20
and I'm
minutes.
sure someone's going to bring this up at some point. There were two guiding laws.
Let me know about what you think.
Military sport.
And
one
we'll
was
see
called
tonight. I think maybe
the one that
at
prohibits
some
federal
point
troops
tonight
from engaging
they'll
in law
deploy the
enforcement.
National Guard. But
And the other was called the U.S. Economy Act.
For Newsom
and
to beg
that's one where the
because
clock
he
will
has
start ticking pretty soon.
demonized ICE and everybody
that's
else.
That's one
so
where you're supposed to locate the most
wants
economical source
getting
of
the
goods
city
and
under
services.
Control. They're not going to give it
done.
to him unless
one thing about the
makes
military,
a public
it is
statement
the most
asking for their help,
expensive
so they can say,
"Hey,
resources
your
governor
it
asked
costs an
for
incredible
this."
amount of money.
You know what I mean? So
and
they can like
anytime
turn the tables,
that we would use the military to go in and do stuff with a natural disaster or civil disturbance or something like that, there was always in the background they were looking at the cost of the cost to taxpayers for what we're doing. And it's in federal law
these
since
people destroy
1932
their own city. I just
that at some
don't
point
get it.
we need to shift that over. So
that's California.
Someone could say, "Hey, look,
just gotta
you're paying for these federal troops. It's costing a huge amount of money."